EUSA.org. They have a survey of all incentives, regulatory programs by state, and then also federal programs. I think that's the number one resource, at least online.
I believe it's DSIREUSA.org. Sorry.
No, I admit I can't spell.
And he's absolutely right about the E, no E.
No E.
Tom, I
No,
believe-
DS, not DES.
Right.
DSIREUSA.org. Just don't put desire.com in or something.
Okay, I believe the question was also for Tom.
Well, for the proposed legislation, I'm not sure where that is, but my guess would be at the New York City Council site. Oh, that's right. Thank you. I don't go to my website very often. I was just told it's on the DDC's website, press release. But I know I read one of the press releases, and you'll get a lot more information by actually reading the bills. And they should be, since they're in the City Council now, they should be listed as proposed bills there.
Next question. Yes. Yes.
My question is about water conservation. I have heard about the technology that, while I don't know about the feasibility of it right now, I've heard that it's out there. What exists, the possibility of metering water by radio frequency, which would potentially allow us to bring metering down to the level of individual apartments. And I think we all know people are more responsible when they're directly, they have to pay directly for something they're using. And I'm wondering if any of you know if anybody, public or private, is working on something like that.
So the question is, can you water meter apartments on an individual level? I hope I paraphrased that properly for you. Okay. Sir, you seem to have an answer to that? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Does anybody on our panel want to go with that one? Right. I hate to say it, but all of us who are here, we're primarily geared toward financials tonight, and we don't have any experts on water technology here this evening. And you're asking about sort of new technology that's coming on stream. What I would be delighted to do for you, though, is I'd be delighted to look into that question. Pardon me? I think you have an answer over here. Oh, do you have an answer? All right.
I can only speak for New York. In New York, the water is billed at the tax lot level. So if you have a unit apartment, maybe Stephen can comment on that. If you have an apartment, you don't have a tax lot, and that would certainly pervade all the issues that go along with a lien on the property, a municipality's interest. So I would say we're at least a legal loophole or a legal challenge away from getting that. Even if technology could further that interest and implement it at a legal level, Stephen, maybe you comment on it.
I mean, individual apartment condominium units have their own tax number, and if you lien an entire building, that's a slam dunk summary judgment. You're tossed out of court. But right, a co-op is something different, obviously. I don't know about the water efficiency question. I wish I did. I'm happy to look into it. So it seems like something we should all know.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Steve will look into it, and Steve will look into it, and I'll look into it also. You will notice that our contact information is on here, and you will notice that my contact information is on here. So if you would like to send me an email, I have some water quality experts who I'm in close contact with, who I'd be delighted to look into the question for you.
Okay. Also, I'd like to add to that, the Water Conservation Manual will have an entire section on sub-metering, and I will ask the question about radio frequency to the author of that chapter.
Okay. Sir?
My question has to do with the U.S. Green Building Council's change to the LEED certification for operation and maintenance of buildings. And I'm wondering whether anyone on the panel thinks it will make it easier for existing buildings to be LEED certified in some way, especially with fewer buildings being constructed whether that's going to be a growth area. And I'm also interested whether any of you have worked on LEED certification for existing historic buildings or landmark buildings, and whether that's possible.
Well, I'd be happy to take a stab at that one, and then there are other people on the panel also. What's interesting about I would say, the progress of LEED for existing buildings is that a lot of people have the idea that greening is about construction. And a lot of times, you don't have to do radical construction things to make your building green. A lot of it has to do with things like Chris pointed out, like changing your light bulbs or upgrading your boiler. So there are a lot of things that have to do with operations or management practices. And so they are changing under 3.0, the new version of LEED, which actually comes out today. They are changing it that it's no longer called existing buildings, it's now called operations and maintenance. Now, there was a second part to your question?
The second part is whether anyone on the panel or you has worked on LEED certification for historic buildings or landmark buildings, and whether you think that's feasible.
It's definitely feasible. I actually read an article the other day saying that in a lot of old buildings, like 19th century buildings, the windows are actually more efficient than new buildings that are being built today. So it's not a matter of just running right out and buying the newest bells and whistles. You have to do testing and you have to examine what it is you're working with. So oddly enough, or ironically enough, some of the older buildings are greener than what we're building now. So you have to look at historic buildings in a different way. So that would be my answer. Does anybody have anything to say on that subject? All right, next, yes.
Actually, to answer that, the New York Landmarks Conservancy actually has a lot of lectures and panel discussions on historic preservation and buildings, like exactly what you're saying is a lot of older buildings, in fact, are already green in place. I'm a garden designer, and for 25 years, we have been inadvertently following a lot of the LEED guidelines without realizing it. And when I first started my business 25 years ago, I advertised as natural, native plants, water conservation, and about 15 years in, I stopped doing it because it wasn't in style. And now, of course, it's back again. So that's just one thing. My question would be right now, on this overwhelming tsunami of LEED certifications and whatnot, where do landscape architects and garden designers fit into all of this? Because you've been talking about bricks and mortar. Where do gardens fit into all of this? I mean, it seems like a natural component of what we've been discussing all night.
Okay, thank you. Chris just volunteered me to answer that. Thank you, Chris. All right, but I would say that one characteristic of green buildings is that the approach is very holistic as opposed to being very linear. And what I mean by that is that in the bad old days, people might bring in the landscape architects as an afterthought, or they might bring in the interior designers or the brokers at the end of the process where they couldn't really have as much influence. And now, with the new philosophies in real estate, we've started having a more holistic approach where all the members of the design team come in at the beginning and work together. So I would say in answer to your question that landscape is an integral part of all of the LEED credits. I would say another really exciting development is what's happening with the green roofs. Because green roofs provide so many benefits. They provide open space and habitats. They can help with water conservation. They can also help with energy conservation. And I'm sure you're aware of the new, I believe it's $4.50 per square foot rebate, right, from New York City. All right, so we have new legislation and programs on a municipal level for green roofs, which of course is intrinsic to landscape architecture. So those would be my answers. Yes, sir.
I'm an architect.
Mm-hmm.